Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast where we overanalyze all things Bravo. Today we are recapping Vanderpump Rules Season 11, Episode 6.
And I have to say, it is not getting any easier to watch. We are in Lake Tahoe still. Lala and Scheana start off strong. They have, some choice words to say about Tom Sandoval, and we're like, yay! And then very quickly, everyone just kind of forgives him. I guess that guided meditation worked. But beyond that, they are very clearly now onto part 2 of the Tom Sandoval rehab phase, which is shaming Ariana. Ariana is the new target to be the villain for this season. I do not understand in any capacity why anyone thought this would be a good idea, but here we are, and we're going to talk about it.
Let's do it. Yeah, I can't believe Lala in particular, just like the way that she flip-flops so quickly, but we'll get into it.
in a second, a split second, she said like such a great thing, and then immediately was like never mind,
that's
we
not
good.
my storyline this year. Never mind. Back it up. Let's go back to the beginning, guys.
Someone in her ear was like, oh, wait, you want me to?
Actually, Lala,
what?
That's not what you were supposed to say. You were supposed to yell at him. Come on, he's our friend.
So the episode starts. We're still in beautiful Lake Tahoe. Oh my gosh, it is so, honestly, I've never wanted to go to Lake Tahoe more.
I know.
Especially the boat trip, my dream.
I know, it literally looks incredible. I've never really hung out on a boat before, and I was just like, this is so fancy.
Honestly, I love hanging, if I could just forever be on a boat, that would be my happy place. Probably not actually, but anyways. So we're in Lake Tahoe. I'm gonna start right at where things really happen, which is this meditation session that Tom Sandoval is setting up. And oh my gosh, they must have gotten so many notes on the purpose of this meditation, because it was so specific. It was very geared towards Scheana. It was very much how can we break Scheana? How can we just really narrow in on that? So basically they're all paired up. Of course, Scheana is paired up with Tom Sandoval. They have to sit back to back. Scheana's really uncomfortable. She's crying. And then basically the person who's guiding it is I want you to turn around and look at the person in front of you, you're never gonna see them again. How manipulative is this?
Right? It feels so set up. And even, I don't know if you noticed, at the beginning of the scene, when everybody's going to kind of sit down on their mats, you have James and Allie, and Scheana was over there in the section beside James and Allie, and there was an empty spot next to Lala where she definitely could have sat. But then she goes instead to the other end and sits beside the two Toms at the very end of the circle. So it was 100% staged. And then also with the back to back, and then the single tear that rolls down Tom Sandoval's face when he does imagine what his life would be like if he never saw Scheana again. You're just oh, okay.
I actually found it really messed up, especially when you think about, I feel the whole time we just have to stop and think, for various reasons, that this is 3 months later, people. I feel the way that some of the cast is talking about this, it's oh my God, get over it. This is 3 months at this point. Yeah, when we're watching it, it's about a year later, but it's not at that point. So, to have Scheana, who at the moment is still really mad at him and not wanting to talk to him, to put her in this scenario just feels so incredibly manipulative to me, and I think it's so unfair. Emotional warfare.
Yeah. And it's one thing to have to be in the same house as somebody or be on the same trip as somebody and say hi to them at the airport or whatever, have to interact with them in some degrees. It's very different to kind of have that physical touching, prolonged physical touching too. It's not just a hug where you're oh hey, yeah, whatever,
and staring into
to
someone's
be back
eyes.
to back.
Yeah.
Physically, I felt uncomfortable for her.
Yeah. It was I thought that was really not cool. So then at one point she's no, I can't do this. She's I still hate you. And she goes into the house, and Brock kind of comforts her. She goes back. They do end up talking, and I guess they have what Scheana considered to be a breakthrough moment where Tom basically apologized. And then in Scheana's confessional, she's there was a moment where he dropped the villain mask, and I saw he's my friend and he misses me. And it's no, this man literally just came off the reunion being like, we're not friends. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like,
Yeah.
it's just so confusing the way that she chooses to see this.
Mm-hmm. And like I don't want to jump ahead because I know that we're gonna get to it, but like in the funicular ride, like later on, like Tom is like once again like doubling down on the whole restraining order thing about how Scheana did punch Raquel or Rachel, and like if Scheana in had been there maybe in that moment, and maybe this is just me thinking this, like I feel like she would have been back to like, okay, no, screw this guy,
Yeah.
like, but she
Yeah.
doesn't because she
But
didn't witness it, and even if she
well,
got
that's the
told
thing.
about it.
Yeah, this was brought up in the after show where
Hmm.
Katie's like, Sheena's a male sympathizer.
That's it.
Like,
Yeah.
she's going to sympathize with the men. She kind of wants that validation. And
Hmm.
Ariana, too, she's like, when Tom had said all this stuff about her, like, we're not really friends, like, I feel like a response would have been like, okay, like, I don't need you in my life. But Sheena's response is like, okay, I need to change that. Like, I need to get you to like me again. And like,
Hmm.
I think we're kind of seeing this here where he's giving her like a small glimpse of like, oh my God, he is my friend. And like, that's,
Yeah.
I guess, all she needs to be able
Hmm.
to want to befriend him again.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of them are just holding on to this hatred towards Tom for their own reasons and really not about Ariana. And we'll see that
Hmm.
later with Lala too. And like
Hmm.
once they feel that Tom has apologized for what he did to them personally,
Yeah.
they're like, well, I'm good. And I guess we could be friends again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is like too like for me when I'm watching this like meditation scene, like I'm thinking about the fact that like Tom really like it feels very much like Tom or production or whoever did this like set it up very much so that like he would get that kind of like outcome from Sheena.
Well,
and
yeah.
and like it's hard for me to not be like, girl, you can't see how you're being manipulated right now, like how did you not see how he kind of like set this all up perfectly so that you would have this response and you would forgive him? I don't know.
Yeah. No, totally. It feels really set up, really manipulative, and it also makes it feel less genuine because it's just like this is
Yeah.
such a forced scenario.
Yeah.
Um anyways, like then kind of like Lala and Sheena are talking like, "Oh, well, Sheena's like, it's not like we're going to be friends with him again and like
Hmm.
it's not like we would have invited him if it was our
Yeah.
trip." And it's like, "Oh, flash forward to the end of this episode, but okay,
Hmm.
you can say that."
Besties.
And already Lala's like, he can't be crucified for this. Like, it's been 3 months. And again, like, it just made me so frustrated that I'm like, yeah, it's been 3 months. You guys have held grudges for so much longer than this. And he has done
Hmm.
such a worse thing than so many other people have done in the show. I don't understand. I just don't understand everyone's obsession with wanting to forgive him so quickly.
I know, like the full-on amnesia that everybody else seems to be able to like have that none of the rest of us are able to have. Um, and like with Lala in particular, like we know that she holds a grudge. We know that she's still upset, and like obviously she's upset because she's still like in a legal battle with Randall, and she's getting like dragged into to certain things and indiscretions that he's had. But like she would never forgive him,
Yeah.
so why is Ariana supposed to just kind of get over it and like all of the rest of us are just supposed to get over it? And
Well,
like
also the comment she makes about her right at the end of the episode, which we'll get into a little bit
yeah.
later, but like, yeah, like I feel like Lala had this whole like we're riding for Ariana like during
Hmm.
Sandoval, and now like
Hmm.
that is very not the tune that she's saying anymore.
Yeah.
And like, anyways,
Yeah.
obviously keep wanting to jump into that, but then we go to Katie and Ariana. They're
Yeah.
discussing the text that they got from Scheana because Scheana basically told her Ariana like it's really emotional for me, and I was crying, and
Hmm.
you know, la la.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, basically Ariana and Katie are just talking like, why does she feel the need to be friends with him? Like,
Hmm.
I think was it Ariana or Katie, but one of them was like, you know what? I can't see myself being like, what's really missing in my life right now? Like Tom Sandoval.
Yeah. I think it was Ariana, but honestly, it could have
Yeah.
been both of them. Yeah, I know. It's just it's so it really does feel like Sheena just kind of goes where the opportunities are, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like it makes it feel like this whole last year was like so disingenuine, with her like kind of picking up for Ariana, like to think that like Ariana kind of like went onto Sheena's podcast like after this season was filmed
Oh my
to
gosh,
kind
it's
of like
so true.
respond, yeah, right, to respond to the Rachel interview with Bethany Frankel, And just like seeing kind of like the Dancing with the Stars announcements, like seeing the flashes of like all these things that have happened, them going to Chicago to support Ariana, when it's just like, so you're very like opportunistically choosing when you to support Ariana, but behind the scenes, you very much are not supporting Ariana because you're not respecting her at all and why she feels the way that she does, and why she doesn't want to hang out with this ex-boyfriend of hers, and like it's just such a normal thing to like cut an ex out of your life, and they're acting like it's not a normal thing to cut an ex out of your life.
It's so true. And okay, I I'm gonna go a little bit outside of a recap and go straight to a scene. We could backtrack
Okay,
after, but it's
let's
just
do
because like it's in the
it.
same like
Yeah,
it's really
realm.
pertinent to this discussion. When
Mm-hmm.
they're on the boat, Ariana or Scheana calls Ariana and Katie, and she basically says, what had happened, and she's saying that she was crying a lot. So she's telling her what happened, and Ariana's like, I want healing for you. Like, that sounds horrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. He put you in this position. And Sheena's just saying, it was like a heavy loss for me and I miss him. Um, and he gave me an honest apology and like honest tears. It's so funny because Ariana's face, like as she was talking, is like, okay. And also, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like semi shocked, I think, that Sheena's saying this. But honestly,
Yeah.
Ariana she was still being there for her. She's still like, I'm sorry, that's horrible. And then
Yeah.
Scheana says what we saw, in the teaser, we saw this coming. She says, I miss my friend and I can't stop hating him. I can't keep hating him for you.
Yeah. Yeah. As if that's what's been going on this whole time. As if Sheena and Lala and all of these people launched huge podcasts like all about hating Tom Sandoval for Ariana. Like they had no other reason that they were feeling that way. It was just because Ariana told them you need to hate him for me.
I was so shocked that she literally said this. Like the lack of
Yeah.
self-awareness is so insane. I can't keep hating him for you. And also what she's
Yeah.
saying is like, well, now I've forgiven him for what he's
Mhm.
done to me, so
Yeah.
I am less angry. So now you have to also get over it
Yeah.
because
Yeah. It's
like
time.
it's so bad. So there's that, the first one, which like we can also come back to. I just kind of
Mhm.
wanted to bridge that. But then later it gets even worse at the end where like Scheana and Lala are talking, and Lala's like, has Ariana even come to your defense at all in all of this? This is when Scheana was getting called out when they took the
Mhm.
infamous fan picture, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
oh, Scheana, you're such a flip-flopper.
Yeah.
And Gina's like, no, of course not. And then they
Yeah.
go on to a whole spiel about how unsupportive Ariana is, and no one understands how hard this is for Scheana, and no one acknowledges
Mhm.
Sheena's feelings. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah. It's also just like so unbelievable because obviously like Sheena has been accused for I think I'm going to feel pretty secure in saying every year of Vanderpump Rules Sheena has been accused of being somebody who plays both sides of the fence and like
Mm-hmm.
very much like wants to appease to everybody and like will not be loyal to anyone, and that is a big reason that Stassi and Katie in particular always kind of went after her. And it's very much like this is why people get upset, Sheena, and like this is why the internet in particular gets upset when they see photos like that, because we knew deep down in our heart of hearts that this is what you were gonna do. You were gonna easily accept him back into your life. And yeah, maybe you didn't, like you did just you turned around, you are like, oh, we're taking a photo, and you all just kind of came together, but then you also sat down on the mat next to him during the meditation ceremony so that you guys would have this moment together. And whether a producer told you to do it or you just did it, it still just happened, and you let it happen, and you didn't say to myself, you know what, no, like I'm still really upset with him, I don't feel comfortable. And I don't think that they could have forced you to do that.
No,
So
totally.
like these things are kind of like happening in parallel. And yeah, I just think that's interesting that like because Ariana didn't like put out a post being like, "Hey guys, lay off on Sheena," like she just took a photo. Like did
But she
Ariana even
did, I
really need to do
think.
that?
No, she
Did
didn't. But
she?
then I think when she didn't, I don't think she made a post. But when anyone would put Sheena into question, she would be like, "No, like I know that they're
Mm,
just taking pictures." Like
yeah,
I feel like she always did actually have her back, and like
yeah,
this conversation between the two girls just really reeks of jealousy. Like,
yeah.
and you can tell
It
that
does.
Sheena is well trained, and that before she says anything, she's like, you know, I'm so happy that Ariana's doing well and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy for her. But
But Dancing with the
and then,
Stars.
yeah, you know,
No, that's what
I
I
was happy for her
wanted.
when she got Dancing with the Stars, even though she knew that I wanted Dancing with the Stars. Like, it's not her fault that they chose Ariana to go on Dancing with the
No,
Stars instead of Scheana.
no.
And then we see in the preview that she's going to be telling this sob story to Lisa, and she's like, and I
Mm-hmm.
started training. I was
I took
dancing.
dance
I was getting
classes.
ready to go on the show. And Lisa's like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Oh, I know that you've always wanted that. Oh no.
Like,
Poor
that
Scheana.
mean Ariana for not giving up
Yeah.
her spot and giving it to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, always the bridesmaid. As if Ariana had passed it over, they would have been like, "Oh, okay. Well, in that case, we're gonna give it to Scheana."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
just like, uh, I can't. That conversation at the end is so
yeah.
frustrating. And then we even say Lala say like Ariana needs to get her head out of her own butt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all she's doing is taking opportunities, and if you had those
Yeah.
opportunities you would be taking them too, but yours have now ended and you cannot milk Scandival anymore, so we're like, let's move on. Tom
Mm-hmm.
Sandoval is clearly the golden child, so we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna follow
We're
him.
going after him. We're falling in line. We're having, and that's just it too. Like I feel like now that I'm watching these episodes, I can't help but reflect back on the New York Times article, and particularly the section where Alex Baskin talks about how they had to have like a come to Jesus moment with the cast while they were filming season 11 to be like, hey, we need to kind of get this together, and we need to be able to film as a group, and clearly that has happened in between like episode 4 and 6, right? Like I'm very much. It feels like after the Lisa Vanderpump like scene where she was like, "Hey, you guys need to be nice to Tom Sandoval." Like that's when that actually happened, and now everything after this is just me being like, "Yeah, this is your come to Jesus moment when you were told, hey, guys might not get paid next year because if we don't have a show, we can't produce a show, we can't film." With the
That's
entire
so
crew, so
true.
you guys need to like get your heads together, get your act together, um, and like film this show with us and for us. And you need to basically like have these scenes with Tom Sandoval in order for us to have a storyline. And boy, did they bank on the wrong star! Like
Oh
it
my
is just
god.
so bad. It is so hard to watch, and
And no one is happy.
yeah.
Like, literally no one is happy, so I really don't understand. Yeah, it's such a good point. Like, now that we know that that happened, I feel like
Mhm.
everything reads as super fake.
Yeah.
I also wonder, like, why do you think they put it all on Tom instead of, why are they like, okay, Ariana's not going to film with Tom.
Mhm.
Why was the response then, okay, so I guess Ariana and Katie will stay back and we're going to do all the group scenes with Tom? Like, why
Yeah.
couldn't Tom stay back and then you do all the group scenes without Tom? I don't understand. Like,
Because
why did they do that?
I think they genuinely think that that's what the only place where the storyline is. Like, there's nothing else to show other than Tom's redemption. Like, it's like, okay, well, clearly this is the season where Tom gets his redemption arc, and we make up for last year's Scandival. And like, I get it because yeah, where else is the story otherwise? Like, Schwartz doesn't really have a story. Like,
That's true.
Scheana and Brock kind of have like a bit of a B plot line. Um, you know, Katie and Ariana have the sandwich shop, which is a little bit of a B plot. Does Lala really have a lot going on? Not really. Does James like not really? Like it's it's a
It's so
DJ
true.
thing. Like they have a house now. They have Graham. They have Hippie. Like that's kind of. But there's nothing there for them to be really like, talking about other than Scandival, and so they are. And the only person that they can really like have a like what would they be like doing if they were talking about Ariana? Oh, I'm sorry, my dog is now barking a lot.
Yeah, it's so true. There really isn't much else going on. They also, we talked about this before, but I think that they also worry that Ariana is starting to outgrow the show now. Like, I guess at this point she didn't have Broadway, but she obviously had gotten Dancing with the Stars and they knew that was going to be coming. Um, and she just, like, her and Katie are the two that I think could walk away, that don't have as much wrapped up in this show as everyone else.
Yeah. No, no, exactly. And that's just it. Like, right, like if they did down the line want to be able to do a spin-off of Vanderpump Rules, like beyond whatever is happening with the Valley, the next logical spin-off would be like a Tom Tom or a Schwartz and Sandy's more than a something about her. A something about her that hasn't officially launched yet. So I think that the network does have to go in the direction of where they think that there are legs for this like show to go. And unfortunately, in the direction of Ariana and Katie, there isn't that
It's just
potential.
so frustrating. I just like it just feels really fake. I don't find it fun to watch. Like it's really frustrating. Every single episode where like it just gets worse. And like no everyone just flip-flops in what they're saying literally within the span of a boat ride. Like
Yeah.
so anyways, I'll backtrack back now that now that we got that out a little bit. We're back in Lake Tahoe just to reset the stage. We're now going on like a gondola up to like a lookout. It's very nice.
Just to see the view.
Yeah, just see the nice views. And then okay, so Tom and Brock and Tom are all together, right? And then again, Brock kind of starts bringing some stuff up. I do think I do like the way Brock's been handling these few episodes when it comes to Tom Sandoval. I do think that he doesn't really back down on him and he pushes him a little bit. And so he kind of starts going in on him. And again, Tom Sandoval, his infamous line, "We did not do any of it, me and Raquel, with malicious intent. But you guys, everything that you did was very malicious."
Yeah.
Like, dude, no one cares. No one cares that you didn't mean to hurt anyone. Also, what would it look like if you did mean to hurt someone? Like what does that mean? It's like I had an affair because I hate you and I want you all to suffer, but
and I meant to
I didn't think. Yeah, but I had the affair and I knew that you would suffer, but I didn't mean for you to suffer. Okay.
But in this case, I did mean for you to suffer, and I knew that it would make you suffer when you found out about it, even though I lied about it for 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, I just like that's clearly his thing that he's gonna stick to.
Yeah, and it makes no sense because it's like nobody's saying that you did this like maliciously. It's just that you're not taking responsibility for what you did, and you're not really like being genuine. And like then you
like,
do.
That's
and
not the part in question.
No, and the thing is, he does like multiple times this season. We've already seen him like launch into these hysterics and like launch into these temper tantrums. The first one that he did against Lisa Vanderpump in like his like first or second episode, and then obviously like we've at least seen 2 examples of it in this particular episode, because we see it in the funicular gondola ride, and then we see it again on the boat where he just like launches into a temper tantrum and is like, oh yeah, this is the real Tom Sandoval that you guys are witnessing right now. But even though they witness those moments of him, we're still getting to a place of resolution where they're like, yeah, whatever, but he just behaved that way and that was fine. And he just behaved that way on top of what he did last year as well.
He literally could not give them less to go off of to have this apology. So if anything, their ability to somehow spin a story that he is he's redeemed. Maybe they should be actresses.
Yeah, literally.
Like he's literally not even trying. Like you're not even trying to not be the absolute worst.
Literal worst. Yeah. I know.
So yeah, then Brock is like, okay, you didn't do this with malicious intent. You put a restraining order on my wife.
Yeah, there you go. Attaboy, Brock. Have to admit, I was a little pleased with Brock this episode.
I know.
I'm
and then
he's like,
he's like, that's because, she's like punched her in the face. So again, Tom's still sticking with the Scheana punch Raquel in the face. Which is really going to help their new budding friendship. Yeah. And then I also liked Brock's confessional when he's like, Tom Sandoval and this whole thing is maybe like 10% accountability and like 90% blaming everyone else for his problems.
Thank you. At least one person gets it.
Yeah. It was actually really...
said he was Brock.
Shock. I know. We're angry at you for making us side with Brock out of most people in this episode.
Even everybody. The only person that sees it with some clarity. Him and James.
Yeah. You know what? And you know why? I think it's because it's on behalf of his wife, and I feel like he can see it more clearly, and he sees that Scheana's hurt, and it's not coming from a place within. Like he didn't do it to him, but he did it to his wife, and he's like, "You can't mess with my wife. Like that's not okay." Yeah. Which is at least he's doing that. Something that did actually make me a little emotional was during the really stupid meditation is when Scheana started to cry, and then they just panned over, and then you saw Brock watching her cry, and Brock was crying. I thought that
Aww.
was kind of sweet.
That is nice. That is nice. I have to admit, I didn't notice that moment, but that is cute.
It was a very small moment, but
Yeah, that's
those
cute.
are,
That's nice.
yeah, I thought that was nice. And then anyway, so then like they're walking around, and like Tom Sandoval and Brock are still fighting over this thing. We also find out some new information that apparently the rumor that had come out about like Raquel and possibly Brock
Mm,
like during Scandival, that had come out, was put out by Tom Sandoval's people.
I totally see it. I totally see it. Do you
Yeah.
see it? Is that just me? Do you see
No,
it?
I fully see it. And then in the
Yeah.
after show, Scheana basically is like, "Oh yeah, that happened, but it's not because of Tom. But basically, the guy was just doing it on his own, so it's
Right.
not
His
Tom's fault."
publicist was just acting out of, his own accord.
Just a
Yeah.
rogue publicist.
Right. Okay. Like Erica Jane's publicist in season 12 of Beverly Hills that put out the stories about Kathy had nothing to
Oh
do with
yeah,
Erica Jane or Lisa Rinna's agendas.
a likely story.
Yeah, these publicists, boy, they're just doing whatever they want.
Yeah, just can't live with them.
Can't
Can't live
control them.
without
Yeah,
them.
can't control a publicist.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely not taking
Crazy.
any direction from Tom
Yeah.
Sandoval.
And
Um,
that's the crazy thing too, is like going back, like seeing the after show like air when they've seen these episodes and they're still on Tom Sandoval's side and they're still so like ride or die, like, yeah, this is the storyline this year. We are friends with Tom Sandoval now. We
it's
hate
pretty
Ariana
alarming.
now. Is
Yeah.
so crazy. Like you're witnessing it and you're still feeling this way. Like what is going on?
It's so bad. It's so bad. Ariana has literally did nothing to them. Every time
Mm-mm.
we see her, she is actually like really sympathetic. The fact that she's
Yeah.
even letting Scheana speak to her and say that I can't keep hating him for you, and not like immediately hanging up on her and
Yeah,
being
which is
like,
what I
okay,
would have
we're
done
not
if a
friends
friend
anymore,
to be
goodbye.
like, oh, okay, go.
Like, it's just
Swear
like
words. Insert swear words here.
they're, oh my god, but they're not
Yeah.
jealous. They're not jealous.
No.
They would, Scheana just wants it to be about her because it's never
Mhm.
been about her.
It's
Anyways,
never been about Scheana. The whole show was launched on the back of Scheana, but it's never been about
it's
Scheana.
never
Like,
been about Scheana.
yeah, she hasn't
Um,
had one moment in the spotlight.
Never. Not, and if anything, it's like if it hasn't been on you, it's because you haven't carried what you needed. No, that's not true. Scheana did carry a lot of storylines. I can't say that.
Yeah, but she also like has like 100% had like so many of those moments. Like she got to be in the gay pride parade where like they literally just played her song, her Good as Gold song on a loop
It's
the
so
entire
true.
day.
Like,
And like how many times has she gotten up and performed like on the Sir like tables or whatever bar thing? I don't
no,
know.
like so many things. Like we covered your wedding. We covered both
Yeah.
of your weddings. You have had two weddings
You have
on this
two wedding
show.
seasons, and you still don't think that you've had any spotlight on you this
Like
entire time? Like,
the
come
spotlight has
on.
never been on Ariana because she's never sought out the spotlight. The spotlight
No.
was put on her, not
Yeah.
even out of her own doing, and she
Yeah.
just embraced it when it came. But like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, how dare
Yeah.
she? What a
Yeah.
devil.
And yet, and I think I'm jumping ahead again, but and yet, for then Scheana to be like pretty good for my backup dancer, or basically say that,
Oh my
like
god, that
it's
was
just
so bad.
so
I
unbelievable.
think
Because
that's
so like
coming in
yeah,
next week.
oh is it?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
is it just
so.
confessional for next week? Okay, that makes
I
sense.
think so. Or maybe it was.
Sorry,
I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, that
I
was
can't
so
remember.
bad. That was
From
wow. I'm so happy for Ariana. She's come a long way since being my backup dancer.
yeah, that's the shadiest thing you've ever said. That's the
And she
meanest
did a little
thing you could have
smirk
ever
too.
said. Yeah, the little smirk is what kills me. Like kills me.
It's so mean. It's so mean. Like, could you imagine they like did they all stay friends with Shay after they broke up? Like after they divorced?
I don't think so. Like maybe a little bit. Like maybe the guys a little bit. Like maybe, but even then, I think it
Like
would have been like
definitely
peripherally friends with him.
Like, definitely not Ariana. Like, it's just so
No,
insane.
no.
So anyway, just to end that little section, something that was kind
Hmm.
of funny is like Brock and Tom were fighting, and then Tom Schwartz, always needing to be the new PR person for the group and to shut
Yeah.
down any anti-Tom Sandoval conversations.
Hmm.
Schwartz is like, "Hey, wow, look at the mountains. Did you see the mountains? Look at the view." And then Brock's like, "I see it, buddy."
Oh, I
Like,
love
he's just like,
that.
"Mom, Dad, stop fighting."
Yeah. Guys, we're supposed to be getting along on this trip. I was promised that there would be getting along.
Yeah, I thought that
Oh,
was so funny.
Schwartz.
Anyways, they do eventually, like, again, I don't understand. Like, I literally feel like they're under, like, they have rules that were given to them because
Hmm.
after everyone snaps at Tom Sandoval, like, they take a break, they cool off, then they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry, man." Like, so
Yeah,
even Brock's
yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's like,
yeah.
no, you don't have anything to be sorry about.
Yeah. Well, and that also makes me wonder if, like, if there were like, if there was, like, a producer, like, kind of, like, coming up to these people, like, every once in a while, and I realize that, like, maybe I'm putting, like, too much on producers. Um, but they're like, hey, the storyline this year for Sandoval is that he has made these, like, suggestions of, like, what he might have done. And so it's going to read really badly if you guys are always just kind of going after this person that's clearly had these, like, very dark thoughts. And so, like, once again, you need to kind of, like, go and, like, make up and make nice, because otherwise it looks like you're bullying somebody who has threatened to do certain things. And,
But they did that. Where was that when Ariana
like,
was saying that
well,
she
well,
also had those thoughts?
yeah, exactly. But also, like, yeah, it's just like, this is the storyline of, like, hey, it's gonna look really bad if you guys are bullying this guy. So
I
stop
would
bullying
definitely
this guy.
like to
Go
know.
apologize to this guy.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I honestly could not tell you. It's just beyond. I'm gonna
It's the
flash.
only thing that, like, logically makes sense to me, because otherwise I just don't understand. But maybe that's just the problem, is that I just don't
I feel
understand,
like
because I could
I
never
feel like
forgive this
both.
guy.
I feel like both are really bad, and
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. To be honest, it's just like the way that they leaned in so hard, and then the way that they are now pulling back so hard in such a
Hmm.
short period of time, and they're just expecting the audience to fall in line
Adapt. Yeah,
with
totally.
them
I
is
know.
just what's really hard for me. Is like
Yeah.
we all kind of went through this, like, in a way that
Hmm.
it was a phenomenon, right? Like, and we
Yeah.
wanted to go and watch all of their podcasts and we wanted to do all these things, and now
Hmm.
they're like, okay guys, we're over it, so like you have to stop. Like, it was good
Yeah.
then, but like now we're
Yeah.
done with that. But they're
Yeah.
all still putting out all of their podcasts after every episode, so like you're still wanting that type of conversation.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I'm just having a hard time with it. It's just none of it's landing, and it's disappointing.
It's really not landing, and it's really disappointing, and it makes it so hard to, like, even want to continue with this season, because, like, it's just, I just don't get it. I just don't
I
get
f-
why they went this
yeah. I
way.
also feel like, oh, I think I just hit on it. I feel like we're being manipulated more
Mm.
so
Yes.
than in any
Like,
other
we're supposed to
show.
fall in line.
Yeah, like I feel like
Yeah.
the same. And I felt the same way when I watched like Erica Jane, that one really bad season when she was
Mm.
trying to change a storyline of like basically change the whole relationship she had with Tom Girardi and just
Yeah.
trying to distance herself
Yeah.
from that. Like, you can tell when people are doing something trying
Hmm.
to get you to feel a certain way, and like this whole
Hmm.
season is feeling like that, and it's just
Yeah.
feeling really disingenuous and like kind of snaky.
Yeah, that's just it. And I am trying to think, like, if there was, like, ever any other season of VPR that, like, did this, where, like, we were supposed to feel one way and we were like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't feel that way at all. And I don't think I can think of anything. I think the Jarek Erica Jane example is a good one, but this just feels like Bravo is so off the pulse of what we are feeling and what they think that we want to see.
Yeah, and that's never been like VPR's always been the classic, like, this is real, this is
Hmm.
real friendships, real dynamics, and I feel like
Yeah.
it feels like all of them just aren't really friends anymore, and they feel like they have to be to continue on the show. And
Hmm.
so they're just so wishy-washy. Anyways, we're getting a little like
Yeah.
existential on the episode.
Yeah.
But you can't help but think about that. Like, as you're watching,
No.
it's just like it's not fun.
Mm-mm.
VPR should be
No, it's
fun.
really not fun. It's really not fun. I don't think Scott's gonna watch it anymore.
Oh my
So
god, he's throwing in the
yeah,
towel.
he's thrown in the towel. And the only other season that he's thrown in the towel this year is Potomac. So
Oh, I have two.
um yeah. Oh no.
I mean, I'll go back and watch, I'm sure. I just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
So now Sheena's in bed, she's sad, and she sees, yeah, the infamous photo again with the fans that she's getting dragged for taking a picture next to Tom Sandoval. Um, that's really basically it.
Poor Scheana.
Yeah, Katie and Ariana are interviewing for something about her with their partner, and their partner is just kind of like asking all of the
Yeah,
questions.
bulldozing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh no, I'm getting a bit of vibes of like
Yeah.
Schwartz and Sandy's. But in that
Yeah,
case, I
with
think that
Greg.
like Tom and Tom weren't super fair to Greg. In this way, it does feel like this woman is just kind of like taking over. But I'm like, no.
Yeah. Like let them interview at least. Like that's just it. Like an interview can be long. It's also just too many people to be in one interview. Like there's no reason to be three on
Yeah.
one. But yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. And then, okay, now we finally get to the call that we will actually break down this time. So Sheena's on the boat with all of with everyone, and she calls Ariana, and she tells her what happened, and like Scheana is obviously having like a hard time with it. I think it was Ryan Bailey actually said something that like resonated, and he's like, Sheena's basically one giant nerve ending. Like she just
Yeah.
feels everything.
Oh my god, she really does.
Yeah,
Deep
so
into her core.
yeah, she's like struggling with this. And then yeah, they kind of have like go back and forth, and like she just says it was a heavy loss for her, and you know, I'm just trying to tell myself like I miss him, but he did this. And Ariana's like, yeah,
Mhm.
like he did do that, and he did put you in that position, and like I wouldn't want that for you. Like I wouldn't want you to have to
Mhm.
be friends with someone who would do this to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
Which
were your thoughts
sounds
on this
totally reason.
conversation?
That's just it. It sounds totally reasonable, and I think that everything that Sheena's said, both in like her confessionals and her retellings of this event, and even in the after show this week, um, it makes it sound like Ariana just like shuts her down, which really feels like Sheena is actually now the one propagating the narrative that Tom Sandoval was putting out against Ariana last year. It's like, yeah, she
Oh
shut
my
me down.
god.
She's so cruel to me. She never listens to
Oh
me. She
no,
doesn't
you're
support my version
right.
of events. Like, it's just so crazy that they mimic these things so
No.
closely.
Oh my god, that's
It's
so true. That's
it's
so
so
true.
annoying. It's so annoying.
Well,
I can't.
well, this is it. So like Ariana, like in my like from what we saw, and it was still like, yeah, of course her face is like, what the hell? But
Hmm.
she was like, I'm sorry, that sucks. Like that sounds
Yeah.
horrible for you. Like,
Yeah.
and
No, that's
sorry
just
that
it.
she
She
didn't
was.
just drop everything.
Yeah. And
Sheena's
the thing
looking for
is,
her to say, it's okay, you can be friends again. That's what Sheena
that's just
wants.
it. That is just it. That's just exactly what she wants. And that's the only way that Sheena would be like, yeah, Ariana is supporting me, is if she like says that. She's like, I'll do whatever you need to do. Don't worry about me. That's it.
But that's
Walk
it.
all
And then
over
yeah,
me. I don't need to have any boundaries in my life.
no, same. Exactly. In the after show, yeah, like they double down on it again. Like Sheena's like, I'm
Hmm.
not allowed to have any feelings in this. And like Ariana's super dismissive and like she doesn't care about what I have to say. And then
Hmm.
Lala's like, it would be different if Ariana was like, I'm sorry, I acknowledge the way that, you are hurt in this and you lost two friends and that is horrible, but like I can't be there for you in this regard.
Hmm.
And Lala's like, if she had done that, it would have been okay. And it's like, she did do that. Like,
Yeah.
we saw her at the reunion really be like, Scheana has gone through this as well. Like she was really
Hmm.
there for her, and I feel like she gave her a lot of space. I think it was like She Speaks Bravo who like
Yeah.
pointed that out as well. She's like, Scheana,
Yeah.
you had a whole segment about this, and like Ariana
Yeah.
was literally crying for you.
Yeah, and She Speaks Bravo also talked about how like even Ariana was even like supporting like James's feelings in all of this, and how James had also been impacted. Like this entire group has been impacted, and Ariana is emotionally intelligent enough to know that it's not just about her, but she still is able to like draw a boundary and be like, I'm not going to be friends with my ex, and I don't want any of my friends to be able to like potentially pass on information about me to this person that's been lying and cheating and like using me, manipulating me, and manipulating all of us for years. Like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that hard.
like we can see these scenes. Like, do you not think that we can see them? Like, do you think if you say the same narrative over and over again, it's going to change our mind? And like,
Yeah.
again, like it's the same as Sandoval being like, oh, you don't like behind closed doors, Ariana was really mean to me. You're so right. Scheana's like, behind closed doors, Ariana's really dismissive to me and she doesn't care and it's all about her. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's not
Queen
at all what's
Ariana.
happening. And then also like in the after show, James is the only one who sticks up for Ariana, and he's like, I see her point. Like I wouldn't want to talk to my ex either. Like I wouldn't want to do that. And then Lala starts yelling at him, and
Yeah,
this
she
is
literally
odd.
chewed him out for no
Like
reason. No
Lala is
reason.
just wants blind like loyalty as well. Because then
Yep,
she
she
literally
does.
is like, oh my god, James, you're a nightmare today. Literally just
Yeah.
because he is not following what she's saying, she starts to
Yeah.
yell at him. And that is
Yeah.
dismissive. Is someone dismissing someone's feelings? Hello.
Yeah, literally. Can't believe I thought that you used to think that they were soulmates.
I really didn't
Unacceptable.
think
I can't believe
James,
I'm
like,
more Team James than I am Team Lala.
I know, like, more Team James, more Team Brock. Like, what are you,
What
like,
is
we don't want to
happening?
be feeling these
No.
things.
These are not who we normally would hitch our rides to.
It's not okay. But then Katie is like, Sheena's getting dangerously close to crossing a line with Ariana. Like, this was her partner of 10 years, like, wrong audience chick. And you're just like, yes,
Yeah,
Katie.
that's
Clap,
just
clap,
it.
clap.
That's just it. Go say whatever you need to go say to Lala. Don't bring it over to Ariana's side of the street.
Yeah. So then in the boat, we do have a pretty potent moment between Lala and Tom Sandoval. So we'll break it down. So Lala basically asked Tom Sandoval, like, can I ask you a question? Like, how were you able to look me in my eyes, and say, that I need to be real and that I'm hiding, like, when you're doing all of these things and you're having the secret affair? And this just launches them into a whole big yelling fight.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, which is like instantly like erased and negated by the fact that like by the end of this episode, Lala's like, whatever, I'm fine with you again. I don't want to be mad at you. I don't want to have this like hate and this emotion in my life. And so like
yeah,
I'm so
it's
annoyed because
honestly,
like this moment was so good and Lala was doing such a good job of like calling out Tom and like addressing kind of all of the issues and being like, you were doing this to Raquel, and the things that really triggered me were the fact that she said by the end of the episode, Raquel said by the end of the episode, that you like were isolating her and that you were the one that was making it impossible for her to be part of this group, and like you terrify me. And
yeah,
she
yeah,
like sees everything so clearly in that moment,
yeah. She
and
even
then within
says,
a
like,
second
you
she's like,
isolate and you groom and you
yeah,
lie and you
yeah,
are terrifying. And you
yeah,
were literally like, in that moment, we were literally like standing ovation, Lala. Like,
you
thank you. Like,
did,
I
you
was actually like
did.
really shocked that she actually came out and said it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you isolate
Yeah.
these women from the group, and like,
Mm-hmm.
these are really scary behaviors. And then yeah, so then like they're blowing up at each other.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Tom does say is he's like, Tom, he's like, Scheana, you left like a lot of your life off of the show and so many things were off limits.
Mm.
That's fair. Like, that's a fair thing to say to her. It doesn't negate what he did, but she did do that.
I
Like,
mean, yes and no, because like it's there's a little bit of like a murky area when you have somebody that's not on the show, right? Like
that's true.
Tom Sandoval and Ariana and Raquel were all on this show together. They were all exposing their lives, and like Lala wanted Randall to be part of the show, and he did eventually become part of the show. But like until that point, like yeah, there was, and the thing is also like yeah, she was maybe lying about it, but she was lying about what was going on so badly that we all knew what was going on.
That's true.
Like
Yeah,
we didn't
and
know maybe necessarily who he was right away, but like we kind of knew what the situation was. Like
yeah, and to be
we
honest,
weren't blind to it.
even like Tom should have just apologized. Like, there was no reason to bring that up in that moment, and he just started
No,
yelling at her.
no.
And
And that's
then
just it.
I
He was
like,
just looking for a thing to like compare it to so that she would be like broken down and like be
which
like,
is
no,
what he
you're
did
just
with
as bad as me, so
everything.
you shouldn't. Yeah, exactly. And it's just not.
Yeah, like that's what he did to James, bringing up the Kristen thing from like 10
Mm-hmm.
years ago. And then Lala also said something that was like so good. She's like, why are you not letting me evolve? Like, I have changed.
Mm.
Like, why do you keep bringing back the past? And
Yeah.
also, she's like, that happened. This has happened 4 months ago, and I am letting you evolve. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, ah, that's such a good sentence, but also like, why are you doing that? Like, he's
Yeah.
not deserving of
Yeah.
this.
Especially when like 2 seconds later you're like, never mind, it's fine. We're
Well, yeah.
friends.
So
Let's be
then,
chill.
then like honestly, like this whole scene felt like a fever dream. You were like,
Hmm.
what has even just happened? Like this, like you're a heightened yelling. Like they're both just screaming at each other. Lala's like, "Am I going crazy? Like what is happening? I can't talk to this
Hmm.
person." She
Yeah.
goes to cool off. And then of course Scheana, the man whisperer, comes and she's like, "Lala." Like just wants you to apologize, like she just wants an I'm sorry for you being a hypocrite. And then Tom's like, oh, I don't think I understood it
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, he's like,
Ah,
because my instinct is just to what is to like what not what if what about like the what
yeah.
aboutisms, like my
Yeah.
instinct is so much just to negate whatever someone's saying that he didn't
Hmm.
even take a second to think about it, but
Yeah.
also it's just like, yeah, right, you didn't understand it properly, like
Yeah.
okay, like
Right.
our
Yeah. You were
which is
just like,
also
oh,
just so
right, I was
rich.
supposed to be making good on this trip, so let me now make good.
But it's also just like his whole thing with Ariana is like, Ariana made me feel dumb, and now
Yeah.
basically the way you're getting out of something is being like, oh no, I didn't
Oh,
understand the very simple thing that you said. I just
oh,
oh
right.
silly me.
Oh, I think there was a miscommunication here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they hug it out and they're fine and all
Yeah.
is good in the world.
Hmm. I know. Unbelievable.
And then we get a confessional of Tom Sandoval. Oh my god, this confessional was so annoying. He's like, I feel like this trip was like really great. Like, I feel like before I was just like a stray dog, like out on the street. And now, they came and like now they're giving me food. Like they still won't let me in the house, but they'll give me food. Like, oh my god, make yourself more of a martyr. Like,
Right. Like literally, what a victim. Oh my god, it was so hard.
oh, it
Uh,
hurts.
yeah.
It
It's
physically hurts.
it's really hard to watch.
And then after that really frustrating part, it just gets worse. And we have Scheana and Lala in bed. And then again, this is what we talked about a little bit
Hmm.
earlier when Lala's like, oh, has Ariana come to your fence at all with like everyone being mean to you online? No,
Hmm.
of course not. She dismisses my feelings. And then Sheena's like, Ariana's doing just fine. Like she's getting everything under the sun. Like dude, the fact that Ariana's doing okay now, like, why are they using this against her as
Yeah.
if this is something bad that she has done?
That's just it. And it's as if they, and I think that they like talk about how like Ariana, like it's good that she isn't like just like wallowing and she isn't just like in a like deep depressive episode or whatever. But it kind of feels like you want that. Like it feels like the only reason that you would be like okay with her like not wanting to be with Tom Sandoval right now or like not wanting to be around Tom Sandoval right now is if she was like in this like dark depressive episode and like couldn't get out and was like struggling and like really sad and like that's the only way that she can be like not okay is if she looks not okay. But because she looks
Yeah.
great and she is thriving and doing all these amazing things, she can't be upset about this anymore
It's
because
so
she's
yeah,
winning.
like they can't reconcile the two. They're like, she's fine, like she's
Hmm.
obviously doing amazing. So like why can
Yeah.
we still not be friends with him? It's like,
Yeah.
A, why do you want to be friends with him? Like this is what we all should be asking. I
Hmm.
mean, actually we know the reasons because you want to stay on the show and you want more airtime.
Yeah.
But
Money.
um yeah, oh my god. And then Sheena literally is like, why can't I have one moment where it could be about me? I'm not allowed to feel anything because it's only about Ariana and I'm tired. And I was just like, guys, it's been 3 months. It's been
Yeah.
3 months. It's
It's
been
been
three
3 months.
months.
It's been 3 months. And like just because she's booking commercials and she's booking like these different opportunities doesn't mean that she's not still going through something like hugely traumatic and difficult. Like both of these things can be true. And like just because Tom is the one that's like crying all the time and making himself look super depressing, um, and like super like emotionally unstable doesn't mean that he's the only person that's struggling in this moment. It's
Yeah.
just
It's
weird.
uh it's really quite shocking. And I
Yeah.
feel like that is clearly like these are the breadcrumbs. Like they're leaving the breadcrumbs that Tom Sandoval left about Ariana and now they're doing it. Lala and
Hmm.
Sheena. And like, okay, on Lala, it's really disappointing, but I know they weren't as close.
Hmm.
Sheena's literally her best friend.
Allegedly.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
they say that. And
That's just it.
you brought up such a good point that yeah, like Ariana went on Scheana's podcast to talk about this. Like that was a
Yeah.
massive opportunity that she gave to her.
Yeah.
Is that not enough? Like
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And like I just can't believe like it's just either we're going to get to the end of this season and like Ariana's not going to like know what was coming for her because I kind of feel like that's what would happen, right? Like there's no way that like Ariana would know, I think, fully like the level of what Lala and Scheana are talking about behind her back and then still go on to Sheena's podcast in August when all of like the Bethany Frankel Rachel stuff went down. Like I have a hard
that's
time believing that
true.
like they could be that level of good because they were like very candid on that conversation. They sounded like in a really good place. Like they sounded like best friends, and to like now be kind of seeing behind the scenes of like what they were actually saying about Ariana, I'm just like, okay, Ariana doesn't know this, or
It's so true. I don't think their friendship is coming out of this. Like, how could it
no.
after?
No, how
Like,
could it? Like, you become surface level friends because you're just like, okay, if you're going to be friends with my
yeah.
ex and you're going to treat me that way, you're going to talk about me on the national television behind my back like this, like, it was
And
nice knowing you.
it's only gonna get worse. We see like the conversation with Lisa and Scheana, because like Lisa obviously wants for some reason Scheana. Someone wrote online, they're like, Lisa has been trying to make Scheana the star of this show for like the whole time and has not
Right.
worked.
Well, that's just it. She's like, Lisa literally gave Sheena, like, on a silver platter, this TV show. She's like, oh, hey, you had an affair with Eddie Ciprian? Here you go. Here's a TV show. Let's talk about it.
And it was the best TV show
It was the
ever.
best TV show ever for a
It's just
while.
like it's a shell of itself.
Yeah.
I also just wanted to bring up something that we also found out that I did not mention earlier.
Okay.
Is that I think is also why Scheana feels kind of the need to be friends with Tom Sandoval is apparently during
Mm.
the pandemic,
Panini.
for some reason, the panini, for some reason, Scheana didn't have a lot of money and
Yeah.
her podcast was canceled that I don't remember
Yeah,
happening.
I didn't remember that happening at all.
Yeah, but
I don't know if
apparently
that's
that
just because like
happened.
podcasts in general like didn't like did some podcasts get canceled during the pandemic?
But then did Scandival revive her podcast? In which case, like, even more reason for, like, why are you hating on Ariana?
Or did season 11 revive her or season 10 revive her podcast?
Oh, true.
Because she
Maybe
started
because it
doing like
was
her like
still a good.
vlogging and stuff on YouTube
Right.
too.
Yeah, I have
I'm
no
gonna look it
idea. But
up.
apparently, she didn't have a lot of money. And Tom Sandoval, I guess, transferred her, like, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And she was like, that really helped me out.
Yeah.
And I guess she feels a little indebted to him for that.
Yeah. Which, like, I get, but like that was so many years ago, and I don't know. Like, I think like financial support is like one thing, but is that really enough to like save this friendship
Yeah.
over? I
No,
don't
well, that's
know.
it. And I don't doubt that he has moments of being a good person, like
Mm-hmm.
at times of his life. We did see him
Yeah.
on the show for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Kristen said on her podcast too, apparently in season 8, she was downgraded to an episodic rate.
Yeah.
And there was an episode that she didn't make a lot of money in, and he was only in it for like a split second, Tom Sandoval, and he transferred her like basically that day's pay or something because he felt that she should have
Right.
gotten it. So like I
Yeah.
do think he did stuff like that, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that everyone should just like forgive him based off of nothing because of
Yeah.
those acts that he's done in the past. Did you watch the after show when he literally did a demonstration on how to give a homeless person $100?
Yes, I saw it and I hated every moment of it. And I was also just like, what the frick are you wearing? This is the stupidest little outfit in the world. What is wrong with you? I hate you.
Oh my god, that was so crazy. Like,
Do you
okay,
want to know the
dude,
best
just
way to
accept.
like give a homeless person some money, like legitimately, without like making it weird? You just say, "Hey, dude, hold on to this for me 1 second." You're just like, what?
Then make him feel like he
Okay.
stole it. Like-
Yeah, it's like so awkward and actually really weird, and like actually is just it's and then just run away. Give him the money and run
Why don't you
away.
just
But
give
make
it
it like
to?
super like jarring, not just be like, "Hey, like here." Or like when people are also like begging for money, like they want you to give them money.
Yeah.
So like they're like, thank
You
you,
don't have to
and
like
you can be
pretend.
like, yeah, thank you, you're welcome, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that was so funny. So they bring this up, and instead of just being like, yeah, I did that, and then we would be like, okay, wow, this is at least a nice moment. He had to, again, go way overboard with his theatrics and be like,
Yeah,
yeah, I think on your birthday you should give homeless people $100 and let
yeah,
me show you a demonstration on how to do
yeah,
that. And then Tom
yeah.
Schwartz is just like, you're such a good person.
Oh, it was so awkward. I hated it. Ugh. Okay, so I do you know do you want to know what I learned from Reddit about Shayna's podcast really
Okay.
quickly? So
Yeah.
the person asks like what happened basically, and the person responds it wasn't canceled. This is so just to give them credit. My reality of yours from Reddit said it wasn't canceled. Her podcast company dropped her, but she quickly got picked up by Kevin Connolly from Entourage fame podcast company because she was on the show a lot, which I didn't know. They
What?
were buds, and for the record, you do not need a company to have a podcast, which is true. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Hey. Hey.
Um, you can
Tom
go.
Sandoval, where's our money?
We have yet to be picked up. You can go it alone and have to work a lot harder for ads, etc. And the thing is, like, she could have gotten like, that's what Stassi did, right? Like, hers is technically now underneath her own umbrella. She's no longer on. She
Yeah.
got dropped also by her podcast company in 2020 for different reasons. But yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
they
Yep.
both still
Yep.
have podcasts, so
Yeah.
podcast world
Everyone's
keeps on
doing
spinning.
just fine.
Yeah. So, anyways,
So,
that's the story.
yep. There we are.
Yeah.
Painful episode. It looks like it's
Yeah.
only going to get worse.
Yeah. It's
Remember
definitely not
how
going to get better.
high our expectations were?
I know, that's what kills me. Well, and you see on TikTok like all the people with like that like Kurt from Glee like sound. It's like the all this work and what did it get me? And it's like all the people being like watched
Oh
like
my
binge watched
god,
all
that's
these.
what it's from? That's from
Yeah,
Glee? I was
yeah,
like,
it's
why
from
do I know where
Glee.
this is
It's
from?
from Glee. It's so good. It's one of my favorites. And it's and they're like binged 10 seasons of Scandival just of Vanderpump Rules just to get to season 11 and be like, all this work and what did it get me?
Oh my god, so
uh,
true. I have to
it's so
talk to my
good.
friends who just started watching and literally binged all the episodes in like
Yeah,
over the in like 3 months when Scandal happened, and now they're finally
yeah.
like, we had to watch
You
a
can watch it
season.
live, and they're like,
Yeah,
oh, wah,
we
wah.
apologize.
Yeah. Oops.
Anyways,
Oops.
yeah, let us know your thoughts. Are you as frustrated as we are? Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll at least we have Summer House coming up. That's exciting.
Yeah, and Summer House is really good, and we're doing recaps every Tuesday now, so
Yeah,
check it out.
catch Real Couchwives Tuesdays and Saturdays. We are twice a week. We're doing what we can. Sometimes we might seem really rattled and tired. Are you high-fiving all around?
I'm high-fiving a million angels.
Have a good one,
Love it.
everyone.
Yeah.